The Nintendo 64 is one of my favorite gaming consoles, but while looking at cartridges on eBay recently, I found something curious. Let's take a look at a couple I bought and what you need to know to not get scammed like I did. I picked up two titles, Mario Kart 64 and Super Mario 64, both of which looked real enough at a glance, but quickly proved to be thoroughly fake. There are multiple telltale signs to watch out for, some obvious, and some not so much. First to catch my eye were the front labels. Compared to an original cartridge, these have a much higher contrast and oversaturated colors. But look closer and there are other small differences. The reproduction label is a bit blurry, primarily because it had been scanned from an original cartridge. Some elements got changed though too. The Nintendo 64 logo is shifted and has a drop shadow, the ESRB badge is smaller and somewhat pixelated, the Nintendo seal of quality is larger, and the part number text under the Nintendo logo looks completely different. It's a similar story with Mario Kart 64. The Nintendo 64 logo also changed size and gained a drop shadow, but now uses a different typeface. The seal of quality is again bigger, but also looks like they didn't quite cover the original one completely at the top. The Nintendo logo looks stretched vertically and the part numbers have changed, and most curiously, the ESRB rating is different. There's also some subtle differences on the backside of the cartridges. The most obvious is in the embossed Nintendo logo. The outline on the fake one is much thinner and the registered trademark symbol is larger. The text on the label is almost exactly the same, but there are small typographical errors here and there. I'll spare you the tedium of calling them all out. The back of the Mario 64 cart is different though. Clearly they're just slapping the same label on all of these reproduction shells because the text doesn't match the original cartridge. And what about those shells? Overall, they're pretty convincing, but again, show some differences when you get up close. The first thing is that the color is a little off. The reproduction ones are slightly darker and have a bit more of a blue tint to them. The details on the shells are softer too, likely from when their mold was taken from an original one. The latches holding them together at the bottom are a different shape as well, and overall the quality of the plastic feels cheaper. A lot of these details may be lost in photos from an online listing though, so is there another way to tell if a cartridge is fake? There sure is, and it involves taking it apart. A real cartridge looks like this inside. The first thing to note is that the metal shielding is screwed into the front of the housing. And second, all of the chips on the PCB are through-hole components. The layout of the board may be slightly different depending on the game. Conker's Bad Fur Day, for example, is bigger as it has 2 ROM chips, but again, they're through-hole parts. The fake games are quite different inside. For starters, while there is shielding, it's not screwed down. The bigger thing though is that the PCB is thoroughly modern. It uses surface mount parts like this 8MB flash memory chip and has an FPGA from Altera. In some cases, these boards are basically just flash carts, and with the right adapter, you could reprogram them. There is a problem though, and that is not all sellers are willing or able to disassemble a cartridge to show the board inside. This can be for various reasons, nefarious and legitimate, and thankfully there's a decent way to get an idea about what's inside a cartridge from the outside. Simply look at the edge connector. Genuine game packs use a phenolic resin PCB, which shows as a brown color in between the gold pins. The modern reproduction PCBs are made from fiberglass, which are lighter in color and have some translucency. Now, why did I pick up these fake ones to begin with? It's because of the way they were advertised. Instead of being listed as brand new, they were sold as used. Mario Kart 64 in particular said it was an original cartridge that had been refurbished. But both of these are clearly fakes in every way, and the sellers are obviously trying to get them to blend in with legitimate cartridges because listing them as new would be overly suspicious. I would have been willing to give the seller a pass if they'd taken an original PCB and put it in a new shell, to deal with a damaged or missing label, for example, but claiming it's refurbished is an outright lie. And beyond looking at the cartridge for differences from the original, which usually requires you to have it in hand, there's ultimately one good way to spot fakes when shopping online: their price. Legit copies of Mario Kart 64, for example, sell for about $50 US, but the fakes are usually half that. Enthusiasts tend to have ethical concerns with reproduction carts, and for me personally, it kinda kills the nostalgia. But if you don't necessarily care that a game is genuine, then you could definitely save some money this way. And I'll admit, both of the carts I bought seem to work just fine. But in the end, if you're looking for genuine games, an old saying sums it up best: if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. Here's another episode you should check out, and as always, thanks for watching.